Hello everybody, this is Jack Stan Johnny, and this is my benchtop review of my $110 Jazzmaster. Before I get started, I understand the philosophy that you get what you pay for, okay? I understand that more so applies to buying things brand new, because you can get insanely good deals on used anything, particularly musical instruments, because that's where a lot of my experience lies. So, if you hear me complaining or anything about this and you want to jump on the keyboard and say, you get what you pay for, you should have seen it coming, I kind of get that, but I'll get into that a little bit more and try to explain my position. I am, overall, very happy with this guitar. For $110, it's a lot of guitar. So here's the story. About a month and a half ago, I was looking around on eBay for cheap guitars, like we all do, and I was looking for something with an offset body and P90 pickups and a maple fretboard. I found a company on eBay called Chinaguitar, or Chinaguitar. They were selling a black Jazzmaster with humbuckers, a hardtail bridge, and a rosewood fretboard for $99, shipped, brand new. Okay, if you're familiar with the Jazzmaster market, you'll know that it's kind of hard to find cheap, like generic Jazzmasters. They're out there, but in the configuration I wanted, could not find it. The closest thing was a Tagiwa, I believe that's the brand, TG or TW61, something like that. They're like $265. So anyway, this immediately caught my attention. I clicked on the description and it said that they would do custom orders to your spec. Awesome. Let me go ahead and shoot them a message just out of curiosity and see what it might cost. So I messaged them and said, hey, I want that Jazzmaster body that you got, but I don't really want it in black. I might want it in white. I suggested also like a dark gray or maybe purple, just to, feeling a little froggy. I told them I wanted P90s. I told them I wanted a maple fretboard. I asked them how much that would cost. They told me $110 shipped. Wow. $110. So for $11 more, you can just get a custom spec'd guitar built. That's pretty amazing. Seems too good to be true. Well, I did my due diligence where I could. I checked out buyer feedback, and they had like 80 transactions and good feedback score overall, and the reviews from people seem to be really complimentary. So I figured, okay, well maybe this is like a new company starting up. They're trying to get their name out there. They're trying to get legitimate transactions on eBay, so they're selling this stuff for really cheap. That was my justification. It was most likely that I just really wanted this to work out. So I said, all right, awesome, let's do that. I sent them some pictures of what I was looking for. They said, okay, we'll start production and we'll reach out in 2 weeks. I said, okay, great, thank you. 2 weeks later, I get a picture of the body. Wasn't really happy with it. The pickup spacing was really weird. They had the neck pickup, it looked 2 inches away from the neck. It was really far away. The whole pickup and bridge and neck situation just did not look right at all. I said, hey, that's wrong. It looks totally different than the picture in your listing. That was the whole agreement. Send me pictures before you ship it so I can go over it and make sure everything is on the square. It wasn't, so they said, okay, we're going to do it again. Give us another 2 weeks. I said, all right, that's awesome. Gave them another 2 weeks. They got back with me. I said, and then in the middle of all that, I said, hey, can you send me a picture of the headstock? You don't have any included in your picture. So they sent me the picture of the neck and stuff. I was like, awesome. It's got a big fat Strat head on it, and I'll get to that in a little bit as well. It's like, all right, cool, man. Good enough for me. So 2 weeks later, I get another picture of this body. And I said, all right, it's been like a month. I didn't want to nitpick. I had requested that the pickup selector switch be oriented at an angle, a 30 or a 45 degree angle. And that the volume knob was below it. They did this. It's like, all right, I'm not going to have them like reroute and cut up another body just for that. So that's cool. I said, you know what? I accept. Ship it out. So, excuse me. A week or so later, which was yesterday, I have this waiting at my door. So, let's get into it. So, I don't have an exact weight. I didn't put this on the scale. It does not feel as heavy as I thought it would for how big the body is. The finish is a lot nicer than I thought that it was going to be. It feels like an egg, if that makes sense. The finish feels like an eggshell, but it's very high gloss white. There's a couple blemishes here and there, but whatever, not a big deal. Working from, I guess we'll go bottom to top. First few things that I noticed, the pickup pole spacing doesn't line up with the strings. The volume knob is a little loose. It's also for a left-handed guitar. Instead of rolling from 0 to 10, going from left to right, it actually goes from 10 to 0, which threw me off a little bit, but that's fine. The cutout for the selector switch is a little uneven if you look at the holes there. It looks like they did do some kind of basic setup. If you look at the saddles, they go low, middle, high, which is usually an indication that the intonation was done at some point. Now, I'll pop over to the back of the guitar real quick. My only real issues with this guitar, and this is one of them, some of the stuff is just flat out uneven. If you can see that with a straight edge, you can see that the ferrules for the string through, they're kind of clumped together in pairs, and they kind of just, I don't know if the person drilling the holes was getting sleepy and kind of let it run out, but it goes out and to the left. Not a huge deal. No one's ever really going to see that, and as long as the strings are going through at enough of an angle where they don't bind up on the bridge and the saddles, not really a big deal. The finish on the neck. Now, if I were expecting to leave this as is, I wouldn't really be happy with it. But, ironically enough, I wanted to message them and tell them, hey, if it helps, save you guys some trouble, don't worry about putting a whole lot of work into sanding down and coating the neck. I was going to ask them to leave the neck unfinished, so I could sand it myself and just use some feed and wax, focus, and do all that stuff myself. I didn't do that because it was very hard to communicate with them. English is not their native language. So there was definitely a lot that got lost in translation in communicating back and forth with them. So I just left it alone. I said maybe I'll get lucky. and it'll be fine. They sent this to me unfinished. The skunk stripe is kind of protruding a little bit. The neck and head and stuff is rough, which is great. That's because I will be able to go over this myself and put some care into it, and be able to give it closer attention. That's one of the big things where you pay more for a guitar, is because they spend more time on each guitar. So of course, you pay for that. So that's it really for the back side. So the fretboard, it came with strings, and it came with some kind of little bit of a basic setup. The guitar plays. I plugged it in and it works. I'd say the pickups do sound a little anemic. It might be the really thin gauge strings, I'm not sure. Next thing up is the nut. I don't know if you can see this, because you have to kind of get the perfect angle, but the nut slot from left to right goes low to high, or from right to left it goes high to low. The nut slot is crooked. I noticed there is a buzz on the open A string. The nut probably sucks. It's just a piece of plastic. But the slot is crooked, okay? Not a huge deal. Not thrilled about it. But I think there's a couple ways that can be remedied. Either by routing it out until it's all even, making it bigger, and then, shimming it or filling it somehow. Or using a Graphtec nut, which is what I use on all my guitars. A Graphtec Tusk XL. Maybe I get lucky and it's thick enough this way, where if I were to take out more material to even it up, it'd fit in there snug enough. I doubt it. So there's that. The next thing, let me throw a pro in there, a thing I like about it. This headstock is huge. I'm trying to think of something here that I can... Here, this is a Snark tuner. If you know your Fender headstocks, which I really don't, this is the same dimensions as a Fender bass guitar headstock. It's ridiculously huge, and I love it. I love that it's just comically big. If you look at it, it makes the string trees just look like these tiny, beady little things just swimming in a pool of maple. We actually sat this next to a Squier P bass, and the headstocks are the exact same dimensions. We sat this next to a Strat, and it made the Strat headstock look weird because of how small it was. I think that's great. I guess they used the template for a bass guitar. That's awesome in my book. It's very different. Okay, so now back to something I don't like. The mounting holes for the tuners are not even. I don't know if you can see this very well. Not only are they, I think, a hair crooked, and these all kind of have their own spacings. They kind of got their own little clicks going on, but this little guy right here, the high E string, it's just sovereign nation. It's noticeably far. If you look at the gaps here between the washers, this dude is just way out there. I think why I'm having a really, really hard time keeping this thing in tune, which is another little issue. It's not a big deal because I was going to replace the tuners anyway. But I think one of the main reasons is the nut slot being crooked and these tuners being spaced all weird to where these strings, instead of going straight through, they actually go here and then kind of break that way, I think. And it's causing a lot of binding in the nut. It has a hell of a time trying to stay in tune. It doesn't at all. Now, I have not done a setup on it. Like I said, I got it yesterday. Waited until band practice around 10:30 to actually open it up out of the box, so I could kind of have that bonding experience with my bandmate. So yeah, I really haven't done anything to it. I also didn't want to mess with it at all before the tabletop review. Now, some more things I like. I was actually surprised. There are no tangs sticking out from the frets. It feels pretty good. It fits pretty tight in the neck pocket. And again, overall, I mean, you know, this could be nitpicky to some people. Some of the stuff surely is. There's other things I think just really shouldn't have left the factory. I don't care if it's a $50 guitar or a $500 guitar. With issues like that, that's just lazy. It's just really sloppy. And I'm thinking there's probably a reason why they didn't send me any close-up pictures of that stuff before they shipped it out. So, where I am right now. I took some pictures of it, and I contacted this company, and I've kind of been letting them know the whole time. I'm getting this guitar. I'm gonna review it. I've got some people that are interested in how this goes, because they're gonna. If I give the green light that yeah, you should get this guitar, people are gonna be buying these guitars. So I would feel bad if I just said, yeah, it's great, man. Look, I paid $110. I got an awesome deal. Everything's perfect. I know people like to do that to help them justify making a purchase. So I messaged them and said, hey, I got the guitar. It's more or less cool. Got some issues, though. I told them about the string ferrules in the back of the body and the nut slot and the tuners. I said, yeah, I kind of, I feel like it was really misleading. The guitar has essentially got quite a lot of defects. I think like maybe a partial refund would be fair. I told them, hey, if you guys just want to send me another neck, we can do that too. So a message back and forth with them. They were hesitant at first. They were saying, this is a beginner's guitar, so it's fine. We're selling them really cheap. Essentially, what did you expect? You get what you pay for. I messaged back and kind of let them know, my philosophy is I don't think it's right to say, well, this is a beginner's guitar. Essentially that's like saying, well, this is for people that don't know any better. They don't know what to look for, until it's too late. We make these guitars this cheap as like for beginners, so they just have something that, it looks just like a guitar. We kind of whip them out really quick, and it's for beginners, so they don't know any better. They don't know what they're looking for. That doesn't really sit right with me. So I explained to them, well, that shouldn't matter. Who the demographic is, there is kind of a standard. I'm not expecting like a flamed maple. I'm not expecting you just to spend 20 hours on working the neck. I'm not expecting high end components. So by the end of it, they have agreed they're actually going to send me another neck, and they're letting me keep this neck as well. So that's kind of awesome, especially for $110. Now, I would really have preferred that this neck didn't have those issues, and I didn't have to go through all that. I've kind of been toiling back and forth with it. Like, am I taking advantage? They're selling these for so cheap. You know, what could I have expected? You get what you pay for, right? So on the other hand, I didn't set the price for these guitars. They did. I also expect there to be some kind of a standard, and it should have never really left. You know, with this going on. You know, I could be asking too much, you know. But I really wanted to give them a fair shake, and I gave them lots of time and many opportunities. I've given them every benefit of the doubt to get this done right. So I don't know. Tell me what you think. Now, overall, would I recommend buying one of these from this company? If you're looking for a first guitar, no. If you are not inclined to work on your guitars pretty in depth, no, I would not recommend it. This is not something you're just going to get for $100 and it's just going to be good and you don't ever have to worry about it. No. Even if there weren't these weird issues, the components would still need to be upgraded. I knew that going in. I knew that the tuners and the nut were going to go. And possibly the pickups, definitely the switch and the pot, maybe the bridge. I knew all that stuff was going to most likely have to get swapped out. I would recommend this guitar to the tinkerer, to somebody who maybe doesn't want to do a kit guitar from scratch with just a bunch of pieces of unpainted wood and all the wiring and all that stuff. I get it. That's really involved, especially if you got to put the frets on yourself and all that stuff. That's a lot, man. And those cost more than this guitar did, you know, ready to more or less play. If you like working on your own guitars and you like modding them and customizing them and stuff, then hell yeah, I highly recommend you check this company out, Chinaguitar. Chinaguitars? Sorry, it's one of the two. Chinaguitar on eBay. Because for $100, you can get one of these. Now, the prices range, and they have a lot of other stuff, too. They actually had a gorgeous Les Paul copy with, like, a quilt top, and it was a quilt top, like, blue burst kind of thing, and a maple fretboard, which I rarely see on Les Pauls. They got quite a few things. So yeah, if you're looking for something that is less intense than building a kit guitar, but is challenging and is a project, then absolutely I recommend this. I recommend checking out that company. Overall, I'm happy with it. I think things are gonna shake out fine. Especially if the new neck is okay. Man, I really hope that they address the tuner mounting hole spacing and the angle of that nut slot. If they do, then everything else is gonna be it's gonna be all gravy, man. So I know this was a really long video. everybody, thank you for sticking it out. I hope this helps give you more clarity as opposed to make things more confusing for you when deciding whether or not to get one of these. But yeah, shoot them a message, tell them what you want. Just don't expect it to be perfect right out of the box, because you know what they say, you get what you pay for.